Here's something that might sting a little. Only about 14% of Americans have $100,000 or more in savings. That means roughly 86 out of every 100 people you pass on the street will never hit that number. And it's not because they're lazy. It's not because they don't work hard. Most of them are grinding 40, 50, even 60 hours a week. The real reason is something almost nobody talks about. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So let's break this down. Right now, total U.S. household debt sits at $18.8 trillion. The average household carries over $11,000 in credit card debt alone, and roughly 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. That's not a money problem. That's a system problem. People are earning money, but the money is spoken for before it ever lands in their bank account. Rent, car payment, subscriptions, dining out, minimum payments on debt. By the time the month ends, there's nothing left, and the cycle starts all over again. The median American has just $8,000 across all their bank accounts, checking, savings, money market, all of it combined. And nearly 43% of Americans can't even cover a $1,000 emergency without going into more debt. That's the reality for most households. So when we talk about $100,000, we're not talking about some casual milestone. For most people, it feels like a different universe. But it doesn't have to be. Here's what keeps people stuck. It's not the income, it's the gap between what they earn and what they keep. Someone making $75,000 a year who spends $74,500 is in worse shape than someone making $45,000 who spends $38,000. That $7,000 difference, invested consistently, changes everything over time. But most people never protect that gap. They get a raise, and their lifestyle gets a raise too. New car, nicer apartment, better restaurants. Financially, they're running on a treadmill, moving fast, going nowhere. Now let's talk about the math behind $100,000 and the reason this number matters more than any other on your financial journey. If you save $650 a month and invest it at an average 7% annual return, it takes about 9.5 years to reach $100,000. That first year, you put in $7,800, but your returns only add about $546. You're doing almost all the heavy lifting yourself. By year 5, you're at around $44,800. You're halfway there, but 5 years have already passed. It feels slow. It feels pointless. And that's exactly where most people quit. But here's what happens if you don't quit. After you cross $100,000, compound interest starts pulling its weight. Between year 9.5 and year 10.5, you invest $7,800 in cash, but your money earns you back nearly $15,000 in returns. Your money is now making more than you're putting in. That's the turning point most people never reach because they gave up 3 years too early. From there, it takes roughly 5 more years to double to $200,000. By year 25, you're approaching $500,000. And by year 34, still investing that same $650 a month, you cross $1 million. The only difference between people who get there and people who don't is that the ones who made it didn't stop. So, if the math works, why do so many people never get there? 3 reasons. The first reason is invisible spending. Most people have no idea where their money actually goes. They don't track it. They don't budget. They just spend and hope there's something left at the end of the month. A $6 coffee every morning is $2,190 a year. A $150 a month subscription stack is $1,800. These small expenses feel harmless in the moment, but over a decade, they represent tens of thousands of dollars that could have been invested and growing. The second reason is debt as a lifestyle. The average American now carries over $104,000 in total debt. When you're paying 22% interest on credit cards while trying to save money earning 4% in a savings account, you're swimming against the current. Debt doesn't just take your money, it takes your options. It takes your margin. And without margin, there's no room to build. The third reason is the belief that $100,000 is for other people. This is the one that does the most damage. When you grow up in an environment where nobody talks about investing, where nobody has a brokerage account, where the only financial advice you ever hear is, pay your bills on time, then $100,000 feels like a fantasy. But it's not. It's math. And math doesn't care about your background, your zip code, or your starting point. It only cares about consistency and time. So, what actually works? Here's what the data and the experts consistently point to. First, automate your savings. Set up an automatic transfer every payday into an investment account. Once it's automatic, you adjust your life around what's left instead of saving whatever happens to be left over. Second, eliminate your high-interest debt. Every dollar you pay in interest is a dollar that could have been compounding in your favor. Attack credit card balances aggressively. Once that weight is gone, redirect those payments straight into investments. Third, increase your savings rate every time your income goes up. Got a raise? Take at least half of it and add it to your automatic investment. This is how people quietly build six figures while their coworkers with the same salary are still living paycheck to paycheck. And fourth, focus on income growth. An extra $1,000 a month in income, invested wisely, gets you to $100,000 years faster than chasing an extra 1% return on your portfolio. The savings rate only works if there's enough income to feed it. Grow your earnings, protect the gap, and let compound interest do what it does best. $100,000 isn't just a number, it's a threshold. It's the point where your money starts working harder than you do. It's where the snowball gets big enough to roll on its own. And the gap between those who reach it and those who don't isn't talent. It isn't luck. It's the decision to start and the discipline to keep going, even when it feels painfully slow. If you're at $0 right now, you're closer than you think, because the hardest part isn't the math. It's believing the math will work for you. And it will, if you let it. If this hit home, subscribe to Frankie Finance. Hit the notification bell and share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.